Good morning. Welcome to FAWKES News. News with a different perspective. News outside of the mainstream propaganda perspective, if you will. Today's show brought to you by ghostbed.com/Wolfpack and factormeals.com/Wolfpack50 off. That is a long promo code, Wolfpack50OFF for 50% off and free shipping. Today on the show, I will have two special guests, Deadleg from Deadleg Media and Jason from One More and I'm Out of Here podcast. One's from Colorado, one's from Cincinnati. I'll let you listen to their accents and you can figure out which one's which. But today we're going to be covering this EU grid. Was it A, aliens? Was it B, a direct energy weapon? Was it C, a weather phenomenon and global warming? Or D, was it a hack, a terrorist hack? We'll see. I'll let you guys decide shortly. And then we've got this whole autopen incident where more information coming out that who was running the country while Joe Biden was in office. This is ridiculous. And the Democrats haven't even learned from that because now we have other Democrat politicians who are at stage 5 or 6 cancer. They're on their way out and they refuse to quit, even though that they are elderly and they are on their deathbed. What drives these politicians to just go until they die? Why not treat it like a hockey game where you have different lines that can come in and fill in for you? I'm not sure. We don't really see this coming from the right so much as the left. So what is the left, the old head lefts, and well, arguably the neocons? What are they holding on to? Why do they have to stay in power until death? Is it some kind of a cult? I don't know. We've got a weird sperm race that Jason wants to talk about. And then, I never thought I would say the words as many times as we've made fun of AOC in the last 4 years on Failure to Stop's podcast, or even when we switched over to FAWKES News podcast. I never thought I would say the day that the front runner for the Democratic Party right now is AOC. From bartender to Democrat frontrunner. It's 2025. At this point, anything could happen. And then I want to touch just briefly on Canada's election. And then more importantly, let's talk about Israel attacking Iran, even if America is not backing them. We've also learned as of late that during this autopen fiasco, that we're now learning from Israel itself that Biden never once ordered a ceasefire, never once even brought it up. So why did the mainstream media tell us that we were working so hard for a ceasefire if Israel is saying, nope, that never happened. We never, nobody's ever asked us for a ceasefire ever, not once, Nope, that just didn't exist. So I think that's a very important topic to bring up, which might have a lot to do with this whole EU grid being down. Before we get into today's show, though, make sure you head over to Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, or Books A Million. Pick up my book, Pig Latin, a seriously funny true story, out for pre-order now. The book hits shelves all across America in Target, Costco, I believe Hudson's, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, whatever, on August 26th. But if you're part of the Fokker family, the FAWKER, because we keep this family friendly as possible, you'd want to be on the pre-order so we can see this thing go to the moon. We're really looking forward to it being a New York Times bestseller, and that's why I have New York Times bestseller co-author Nick Palmisano with me to help me get this book to fruition and get it published by Simon Schuster, big major publishing house. So now is the time. Get on that pre-order and help us get this thing as a New York Times bestseller. That would be awesome. Also, we have the Santana True Crime podcast, new to the network. It is absolutely fire. He's had the best guests. He's very articulate and by far one of the best new true crime interviewers out there. And I'm so glad that this guy, after, 20 years in law enforcement, he's just now ending his law enforcement career, getting into podcasting, and he's absolutely great at it. He wrote the book A Murder on Campus, North Carolina's Most Notorious Cold Case. And they actually solved that case. And then they began going as guests on other podcasts. And the guy is incredible, and he's getting a lot of momentum. So he is new to our network. He's one of our big players. So head over to Santana True Crime. He's also dove hundreds of hours in research on our Holtzclaw project. So you can go to the free Holtzclaw podcast, which is a 1-year project giving you all the information that proves Daniel Holtzclaw's innocence. And we'd like to free him from his 260 plus year sentence. So head over to the free Holtzclaw podcast. With us today, Jason from the One More and I'm Out of Here podcast out of Cincinnati, Ohio, just returning back from Austin. He got to sit in at the Drinking Bros. Also have Deadleg, former Hawaiian police officer. What's up, Deadleg? Jason, how was your time, briefly, because we have to get into today's news, how was your time in Austin with the Drinking Bros? That's, for those of you who don't know, that's where I got my start, on the Drinking Bros network, Tetherball Network. I did one of their sports shows. Funny enough, that was my first podcast ever, and we all know how much I don't know about sports. And then I got to do the Failure to Stop. So how was it over there, seeing how things are ran over there?
It was awesome. Unbelievable. I mean, you walk in and it's, just completely change your perspective if you watch them on YouTube, just how different it looks. But
yeah, it's a big warehouse. It's a big studio with tons of different sets. It's a lot of fun. Now, normally if you go on Drinking Bros, you get to call out a Drinking Bro of the Week. Who did you choose?
I did a multitude, but Jill Billy was the first.
Okay.
And then you and the Drinking Bros were my second. And then Dexter Pitts was the third.
Oh, Dexter Pitts, man. He is one of my favorite human beings of all time.
So you guys all let me get started podcasting. And so.
Oh, well, that was really nice.
Yeah, they were very gracious hosts. The Hard AF Seltzer was too good.
Hard.
It was too
good. It goes
good.
Hard. I think I got like 12 Hard AFs left, and it's like they're really hard to drink because once they're gone, I don't know when I'm going to be able to find them again because I'd have to drive all the way to Wellington to buy them. And so I'm waiting for like the right moment to open them. But every time I open their fridge, I have to look at these 12 Hard AFs staring me in the face. So
I'm not a seltzer guy, but they were way better.
Well, they're hard seltzers, so they're definitely different. But
no, it was cool, and I appreciate.
At one of their launch parties, I got a little twisted on those things accidentally.
It's easy to do.
I think I had like 3, but I had them like really fast without having any food, and I ended up spending the rest of the night at the oyster pit that they had. They had free oysters, and I bet you I ate 100 oysters.
I can imagine. But it was good. Austin's a great town. I've never been there, so it was cool. I was there for work.
Yeah, Austin's a cool town. Now, I went there, I don't know, when I first was signing contracts with the network and getting on their network, I was going out there more than I go out there now, but I was just there 3 or 4 or 5 months ago. But when I first went out there a few years ago, it stank. It smelled bad. Like the whole city of Austin smelled like urine and fart. And there was homeless people. I'd never seen that many homeless people in my life. And then that was for like 2 years in a row. And I used to tell everybody Austin is the dirtiest city. And then I went back a year later, so 3 years later, and they had cleaned it all out. There was 0 homeless people, 0 piss, 0 graffiti. It's like somehow they were like, let's get tough on crime and clean this place up. And it's wild. Yeah. Yeah. It looks really nice. All right, guys, let's get into this UN grid thing, this whole power grid thing. Now, I think this is when we talk about, and by the way, I did a really great episode yesterday. So hopefully you guys will get to listen. I don't know why it's not out on podcast yet, but it should be today at some point. So go back and listen to that. But, propaganda media is a real thing. It's not something hyperbolic that we say. It's not something that you should turn off, whether you're from the left or from the right. If you're a free thinking man, if you are a person of critical thinking, you should go into every news article, whether it's from Fox or Tim Pool or Breaking Points or wherever you consume world news, wherever you consume your news. You should always go into it thinking this is propaganda. I wonder what the real truth is. That's how you should look at the news. If you don't look at the news, again, this is politics aside. If you don't look at the news in that light, then you are a fool and a sheep, whether you're on the right or the left. If you believe without question what any mainstream media outlet puts out to you, you are a fool. And it's hard, right? It's something you have to remind yourself every single time, because sometimes we want the news to be what it is. It makes us feel good. We're like, oh, that news article makes me feel good. It must be true. And so we get sucked into the foolishness of today's mainstream propaganda. Remember last week's episode when I showed you news articles from July of 2024, where it says Cinco de Mayo will be canceled in 2025 in Chicago due to 27 people being shot in gang violence. This is the third year in a row up to 2024, so 22, 23, and 24, that they had to cancel the parade midway through the parade because of gang violence. And so they had canceled the 2025 Cinco de Mayo. But what does the mainstream media say in April about the Cinco de Mayo parade in Chicago? That it's canceled due to the threats of ICE and Trump's immigration policy. So we know it's a bold-faced lie. That's just one of a million examples. So here's another example of a story that I think is important, because it shows you how dishonest the media really is. So I want to start off with the fun. And this is coming from the dailymail.co.uk. And this is how they do it, because they want to make you they want to make you feel stupid for believing anything that they don't. So they have to put out these little articles, these fun, cutesy articles. Again, it's all a game to make you then to go, ha, these idiots, these buffoons would actually believe this. And then they give you their story, and it just somehow makes their story more palatable. But let me give it to you from a different perspective, and let's see whose story is actually more palatable. They all sound very ridiculous. So here's the article. Wild conspiracy theories flood the internet after Spanish power blackout as sleuths blame alien attacks, chemtrails, and U.S. EMP strikes. Now, that's pretty audacious, right? Jason, that like people in the chats, would you guys agree that that's pretty audacious? Like, you would be a fool if you believed that the blackouts were due to alien attacks, right?
Right? It's not.
Like, let's be real. Let's be serious. Like, would you, that's pretty stupid, right? Like you would say, if you really believed that the blackouts were due to aliens, you're a fool, correct?
So yeah, because if aliens actually did cause a blackout, we would be talking about the aliens.
Right, sure, I guess.
Exactly.
But it's like, at the end of the day, it's pretty ridiculous. So that's fun, right? Chemtrails, like, of course, if you just came out right now and you said chemtrails caused the power outages in Spain, Portugal, and France, right? I think reasonably people would think you're kind of crazy, right? Nightkin, with the alien farts there for sure. And a U.S. EMP strikes, like, yeah, right. The U.S. would never. So, that's where they lead, right? And then here's the story. Wild conspiracy theories have flooded the internet following a widespread power cut that rocked Spain and Portugal on Monday and parts of France. Let's tell the whole story here, guys. Internet sleuths have flooded. It's like, parts of Ohio and Pennsylvania were attacked by power outages. Like, you could see you're on the border, but if we say Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Michigan, now we have something, right? Or if we were to say Ohio, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. I see where you're going with that.
It's like a little bit of a different picture here. So let's put them all in there. Internet sleuths have floated bizarre theories from alien attacks to U.S. EMP strikes as information on what triggered the nationwide blackouts remains scarce. The massive outage left thousands of people stranded in trains and elevators. By the way, it's way more than thousands of people. We're talking like 20s of thousands of people, 50s of thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people stranded in trains and elevators, while millions saw phone and internet coverage die. By the way, this thing rocked. Again, why are we downplaying this? We'll watch mainstream media. We'll watch a news correspondent get in a flooded ditch and try to tell you that the hurricane that wasn't a category 1 that got downgraded to a tropical storm was still the worst thing ever, and that the streets are flooded when they accidentally pan out. We've seen this time and time again. There's people walking their dogs and everything's good. It's just that this correspondent is standing in a flooded ditch. You know what I mean? Like, but if they're willing to do that with the weather, what else are they willing to do it with? So they're trying to downplay this as if this isn't like a massive event. Like, there's some really scary things happening and being reported that are coming out of the EU right now that mainstream media is not even publishing. Like, all the cops can't respond to any calls because all the red lights and stoplights and everything is out. across a very, very far difference. Yeah, we have people stranded on elevators. We got people stranded on trains. I mean, we've got serious supply issues and grocery store issues and food issues. I mean, there is a lot. Schools, kids not being able to get picked up from school because their parents couldn't even get to the schools. I mean, like, there's a lot of things going on here, and they're just kind of like blowing this off as like it's just a regular power outage.
So, Eric, do you remember a couple weeks ago we talked about how the next 9/11 was going to be IT related or
Yes,
or
that was like 4 weeks ago.
Power grids or whatever. I'll throw a conspiracy theory out there. What if this is a test from somebody just to see how it worked and see?
Well, I don't even think that's up for question, Jason,
Right,
because if we look about last year when the Ukrainian power grid went down, they had no problems blaming this on Russia. They had no problems blaming it on malware that destroyed their entire energy grid, which left, again, hundreds of thousands. And if we read those reports when the Ukrainian story comes out, it was hundreds of thousands left without power, people trapped in schools. Like, it was super hyperbolic, and it was really important because Russia had done that to the Ukraine. But now we have this thing going on in Spain, Portugal, and France, and we're just kind of like playing it. So which one is it? Is a power grid going down that affects hundreds of thousands of people, is it a big deal or is it not? And if it is a big deal, or if it's not a big deal, then why did you make it a big deal in Ukraine and not in a big deal in France, Portugal, and fucking Spain? Which one is the big deal? And they had no problem. There was no question that they blamed that power grid. So let me just keep going because this is going to get a little bit crazy. Like, I want you to feel how I feel, the anxiety that I feel on how bullshit and bogus today's news is. Lights began to flicker back to late last night. Let me start over. Lights began to flicker back to life late last night, with authorities confirming this morning that more than 90% of power had been restored in the Iberian Peninsula. No concrete cause for the blackout has yet emerged, but Eduardo Prieto, the head of services of Spain's national electricity grid, said on Tuesday morning a cybersecurity incident had been ruled out. He also added that there was nothing to suggest that there was any kind of intrusion into the operator's control system, and that it was quite possible that the effect generation was solar, but it was too early to say for sure. Meanwhile, Spain's top criminal court said on Tuesday it was investigating whether the huge blackout that paralyzed the Iberian Peninsula was an act of computer sabotage on the critical infrastructure. While Spaniards wait for the government to come forward with a full explanation for the outage, wild rumors and conspiracy theories have started to circle online over what could possibly be a rare blackout. Now, I want you really quick, and I'm going to let you do it, Josh, because you're our fact checker. I want you to Google right now what caused the EU blackout. Let's go to some mainstream media sources and I want you, so it's not me. I didn't set this up. I want you to read me what they think or what their hypothesis is, which I assure you, all you fuckers in the live chat, which I'm going to get to, I assure you that their conspiracy theory is not nearly as crazy as an alien attack or chemtrails or US EMP strikes. Their theory is very plausible.
The sudden blackout in Spain and Portugal happened in the Liberian grid, experienced a significant power imbalance, which triggered a significant shutdown. Paradoxically, the fact that the lights were out is a good thing. It shows mechanisms that were designed to protect the power grid network worked to protect it from serious damages. They're working. So they still haven't come out and said. So they're going to call it a conspiracy theory, and they're going to say everything that you say is wild conspiracy theory, but they don't like. If I just don't understand how you can say, well, what you're saying is a conspiracy. Well, that insinuates that you know the truth, that you know actually what went on. Because if you don't know what went on, then your wild ass guess is just as good as my wild ass guess, and we're both conspiracy theorists then. If they don't know, they don't know. Not only that,
So
Eric,
let me tell you what their leading scientists are saying. The lead scientists on this whole thing. And now there's multiple things out there. We can go to New York Post. You can go to Science Media Centre, which is sciencemediacenter.org. It's the Spanish version of it. You can go to euronews.com. You can go to CNN.com if you want. I'll read from the New York Post or MSN. Like, you want MSN? You want USA Today? Well, let's do USA Today. We'll go with USA Today if that's a trusted one. Induced atmospheric vibration is what they are saying caused the rolling blackouts. Primarily reports out of Europe about the massive blackout that left millions powerless. What did the last article say? Thousands?
Couple thousand.
Thousands of people. So now it's up to millions. Again, like they're going to downplay this for whatever reason. And that's what I'm saying. If you're not questioning, I'm not telling you I have the answers to the questions, but I'm telling you, if you're not. But let's go. Millions powerless say that the cause may have been something called induced atmospheric vibration, a rare phenomenon where weather changes affect power lines. Now, what sounds crazier to you? The fact that last week we covered a story from the Daily Mail and from the New York Post and from the AP last week. If you'll go back to last week's episode, when we talked about experiments to dim the sun in bid to curb global warming will be approved by the UK government within weeks, that they were going to use chemtrails, that they were going to put particles around the atmosphere to dim out the sun to curb global warming.
Yep. We called this the Mr. Burns one.
Right. We called that the Mr. Burns one last week, where they were actually, again, the Simpsons know the future, correct? And so, is somebody hearing a crackling when I talk? By the way, I saw that.
I'm hearing something on my end, but I don't know if it's going out. So,
people in the live comments, if I'm crackling, let me know. But here we have that they're saying the Daily Mail now is saying that it's a wild conspiracy theory to even question whether chemtrails. And again, I like how they label it chemtrails. It's like when they called ivermectin horse dewormer. When we know that they've been giving ivermectin to human beings for quite some time, so much so that it's gained multiple awards for healing malaria and all sorts of other things. But they started to refer to it again to dumb down or retard the important significance of things. And so now that nobody was questioning that it's chemtrails, what we're talking about is exactly what you talked about with the clouds. Outdoor trails could include injecting aerosols into the atmosphere or brightening clouds to reflect sunshine. This is coming from the Daily Mail. So what is, if that's not a chemtrail, then what is the definition of a chemtrail? Because I don't know, experiments to reflect sunlight away from the earth will be given the green light by the government within weeks. The Telegraph reports. Now, by the way, we covered this on like 3 different news outlets. Outdoor trails could include outdoor trials could include injecting aerosols into the atmosphere or brightening clouds to reflect sunshine. So is it a crazy wackadoodle conspiracy theory to say, like, well, you said a few weeks ago that you were going to begin testing this in a few weeks. It has now been a few weeks. And now you're telling us that a very rare atmospheric phenomenon that's never happened before just so happens right now in the UK.
And we're on Earth where the entire rest of us is, and it doesn't affect us. And if you guys say it's in the northern atmosphere or northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere, okay, so it didn't affect China or Russia or any of the Middle Eastern countries, Egypt, the United States, Canada, Mexico, we're all on that same side. So it only affected just this one little, that doesn't sound like, we're not allowed to question it. We're just going to say this is what it is, and anything else is a conspiracy theory. That's not trust the science. That's just propaganda. That's me telling you what you are going to believe and then telling you not to question it. And if you do, I'm going to call you a conspiracy theorist. Like,
yeah, it's global warming destroyed the power grid.
Like,
in
cows
this area.
Cows farting in Nebraska. That's what it caused.
Guys, don't worry about it. It was a rare atmosphere. There's no way that it was malware similar to what was used back in October of 2015 when several computers and black energy, remember when they called it the black energy, was employed in order to retrieve, like, so back then when it just mysteriously, when the whole grid goes down mysteriously, it's now this black energy. But when it happens to you, it's now global warming. No, let's say what it probably is. It's probably this. It's probably Russia, or Iran. Because who wants the war in Israel to take place between Israel and Iran? Europe. They're all boned up about it. They want to see it. Let's go. Who wants to see the war in Ukraine keep going?
All the world.
France, Italy, Spain. Like this is their fucking wet dream right now, boys and girls. So right now they're being attacked. If their citizens knew they were being attacked, they would have. We know what happens when the French get attacked. We know what the French people do. No, I'm kidding. That was a joke. It was a bad joke. That was a bad joke. Why do they plant trees on the sidewalks in France? So the Germans can march in the shade, ja. Yeah, that was my bad joke. There we go. But I'm saying the polling about what we should do about war, when it starts affecting you directly, when you have millions of people affected directly by war, by a cyber war, the tone changes because now the war is in your backyard. And so it's a lot easier way to spin this is to say, oh, it's global warming, which is something you guys we've already got you panicked about. And so it's a win-win. We don't lose anything in the polls on whether we should go to war or not. And we gain stuff in the polls so that we can continue our world economic order or our global impact, with our, global cabals, which, by the way, remember when we said global cabal and people be like, oh, you're one of those, you believe in the global cabal. Well, now if you look at any mainstream outlet this week, they were talking about Trump's cabal, Trump's billionaire cabal, even though who has more billionaires backing them in the last 20 years, and still to this day has more billionaires backing them, the Democrats. But now the Democrats have adopted the whole billionaire cabal. Oh, that's interesting, guys. And see how funny this works? You see how this is all playing out? So what's crazier to you guys? The fact that a direct energy weapon could be used, there's no argument that they exist.
Mm-hmm.
There's no argument that China is more advanced when it comes to drone technology and laser technology than most people in the world. It's been reported on. We've done reports on it on this show several times. Lots of crazy testing coming out of China. Why is that a crazy conspiracy theory? Now, what is crazy is I've heard nobody talk about it being an EMP delivered by the U.S. I've literally not seen that on Reddit, Reuters, Hindu Times, New York Times, New York Post. I've literally not seen that theory anywhere. But what I have seen are theories that a direct energy weapon from an unknown source was used. Why is that a conspiracy theory? Why do we need to make that seem hyperbolic? We know they exist. Why is that not a theory? Why can't you talk? And any time that you cannot talk about a theory, it's probably because you're on the right path. When they say, how dare you even talk about ivermectin? We're going to delete you from the interwebs. It's probably because ivermectin was the cure the whole time.
Well, here's another way that, okay, Eric, if it's not a direct energy weapon, then what the hell was it? If you're going to tell me that my wild guess is a conspiracy theory, then provide evidence that your wild guess is factual.
Yeah,
if
how
not,
is that
then
not a
you're
conspiracy theory? An atmospheric pressure change that you can't even show us the barometric change. Like you can't show us physical evidence that shows some kind of atmosphere. If there was, you would show us like one of those weather maps where you're like, here comes the weather. Here's the atmosphere. This is where we see the heat in the atmosphere. This is where, like, they would have you some kind of evidence already to present to you. They just made that shit up.
Yeah, you'd have barometric pressure numbers or something. You would have some type of number to compare what it was yesterday versus today, or whatever. Whenever.
I mean, I'm sure they have that now because it's been like 24 hours.
Well,
and
you can doctor that up all you want.
Right. Now you can. But like they didn't do that because they know that you're so stupid, and then they know you're going to believe whatever they say without any reference, because we've gotten used to allowing journalists to say anonymous sources, anonymous sources, anonymous sources. You should not be able to say anonymous sources. Like, I get it that journalism is very difficult without anonymous sources, but like there should be a very limited use when
The
it
only way
comes
that the only way you get away with anonymous source, we don't use anonymous sources here. Very, 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 very rarely. And when we do, the anonymous source is given as very credible information that you could go factually check independently on your own outside of us. That's how you build credibility. The media just told you that everything that you think about is a conspiracy theory, but I don't have a factual thing to tell you what actually happened.
Right.
That's the media.
Well,
that's the media in a nutshell.
That is it. And it makes you feel hyperbolic and crazy because they use the headlines to make you feel hyperbolic and crazy, and it makes you embarrassed. You're embarrassed. You're like, oh, I don't want to believe in the chemtrails because it does sound stupid. But you know what also sounds stupid? Atmospheric pressure changes that disrupts a grid right at the politically height of multiple world wars breaking out, and cyber wars and cyber threats, and the fact that we were all just talking about the next big 9/11 is going to be a cyber attack, and that's coming from cybersecurity experts. We know about the Ukrainian power grid, so like, who's crazier, us or you? And I hope that there's more independent news outlets like our show, FAWKS News. And if you like this show, please share this with a friend. We cannot grow if you don't share. We're not asking for your tithes and your offerings. We're not asking for your super chats. We're not asking you to join our Patreon for less than a cup of coffee a month. We're not. We rarely ask you that. We're not like a church. You know what I mean? We're passing around the plate twice. Like, I feel that you don't believe in independent journalism because you did not donate to the cause. We're not doing that. But what we are asking you to do is share us with a friend. That's not so bad, is it?
Pretty easy.
Come on now, Uncle Baby Billy. All I need is $2 million in an 8-ball. Stop being so selfish now. Greatest show of all time. If you haven't seen it, Righteous Gemstones. Sorry about that. But anyway, we do ask that you share this with fun and even a friend, but which is even easier is if you do appreciate us, go to Apple or Spotify, give us a listen. You can put us on mute if you've already heard it on YouTube. But give us that 5-star rating and review. If you're already a podcast listener, which 99.9% of you are, I don't understand. It's like, how do we have 2,000 downloads in a week and we have 30 reviews in the last 5 months? And I get it. They say that reviews are the hardest thing. We had over, 8 or 9 million on Failure to Stop, but we have 1,600 reviews. So if every one of you that was listening just didn't take shit for free and you just anteed up by leaving a 5-star rating or review, this would be amazing. It would really take us up on the charts and it would really help us grow the show. And then our sponsors would be extremely happy as well. And then we would never have to ever ask you guys to join anything. Although our Patreon is really good. We now have true crime updates on there. TANSEY times out there. We got another TANSEY time coming up very soon. So head over there to Patreon as I pass around the plate. All right. One thing that's not hyperbolic or crazy is Factor Meals now having a keto option on their thing. They've always had calorie conscious. They've always had protein heavy. The time is now to get in shape for July 4th. Get ready for those hot dog eating contests. You want to get that body in shape? Head over to factormeals.com and use the promo code Wolfpack50 off for 50% off. Go to factor75.com /Wolfpack50 off, 50% off of shipping and your first order to start meal planning today. So we can go and enjoy the sun, enjoy the ocean, enjoy all the finer things of spring and summer without having to be caught up in going to the store, dragging your kids along, paying for gas, buying a bunch of stuff that you weren't planning on buying anyway. And now you can have chef prepared, fresh and never frozen meals delivered right to your door ready to go. We've got calorie conscious, protein heavy, keto. They've got other sides like shakes. They've got snacks. They've got all sorts of things to get you through your week, through your day. It's super easy, especially if you're a first responder. The last thing you want to look at or think about is meal planning. But you also do want to get in shape and stay in shape. You know, you got core prep and all these other things. If you're a school teacher, my brother's up on these things, you know, it's very easy. If you're caught up in the day to day, take this off your plate. Take thinking about your meal plan, take that off of your plate, figuratively speaking, take it off your plate. Get it? Head over to factor75.com, promo code Wolfpack50 off. That is factor75.com, Wolfpack50 off for 50% off. And then we have ghostbed.com/Wolfpack. Sleep so good, it's scary. The end times are coming. Supply lines and shortages are coming. All the politicians have been talking about this. Lots of people have been talking about this. Now, again, they're trying to scare you because we've already seen this. And, you know, why is it every time that Trump gets in office, we have a supply shortage? I think that's kind of weird. Also, we were setting up for a supply shortage early on. Later on in 2024, when we covered it in October, that there were certain strikes that were going to take place. They really tried to hide that out of the media. We did one of our first FAWKES news breaking stories where I planned this out, where I said, guys, listen, if these guys strike, even if you don't strike en masse, we're going to have supply issues. And I said, they're setting this up because they're doing it now as Biden is leaving so that when Trump gets into office, they can blame these shortages on him. But let's not forget that these shortages, like they're telling us now that during these strikes at the ports from the Teamsters is going to create 5 months down the road shortages. So again, like that whole Cinco de Mayo effect, but GhostBed is switching up all of their marketing. Everything is changing. This is the last 2 or 3 days to get on board with that whole 40 to 50% off site wide on ghostbed.com. It's so sad. I'm sad. I don't know if there's going to be another contract with GhostBed. We've had them for, 5 years now, 6 years now that I've been working personally with GhostBed. And it is, and I'll always be loyal to GhostBed, but the deal is out. It's over. Come the 1st. That's like in 2 days. Head over to ghostbed.com/Wolfpack. Use the promo code Wolfpack. Get that 40% off. Get the adjustable base, the cooling sheets, the pillows. I live by the pillows. I swear by the pillows. Stock up on the pillows, even though I think one pillow will last you your whole life. I want a pillow for every room. So my wife and I are going through and buying all the cooling sheets. Now's the time because you're not going to get it anymore. We've been procrastinating. We've been waiting, but that deal is going away. So head over to ghostbed.com right now, last chance, and get that 40 to 50% off site wide. All right, let's get into Iran and Israel. Will Israel attack Iran outside of America's approval? Well, go ahead.
Is this our, we're going to do the over under, start taking bets?
Well, I mean, I think it's interesting because a lot of, Hindu Times has reported on this. And again, you guys know how much I love the Hindu Times. Hey, here's something funny is that I've been telling you guys for 6, 7, 8 months that I use the Hindu Times quite a bit. It's a big world leading media source. Tim Pool just did an episode 2-3 days ago where he was talking about how thankful he is to the Hindu Times. So, I mean, listen, I don't want to tell you that Tim Pool's taking any of my content because he's not. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I'm always ahead of the trend. Am I not?
We take so many outside sources, and I have a different pain doctor I talked to on Monday. We talked about podcasting and she talked about all the different sources that we go through. And same thing, Hindu Times, Al Jazeera, some of the stuff, BBC that we were taking in these different sources. But we're ahead of the game. There's a reason why the mainstream media is not talking about this, is because they don't know how to spin a narrative to figure out how they're going to get cha-ching on the back end.
Right. That's exactly right. That's exactly correct.
Well, most of these outlets are reporting that Israel, Donald Trump, and again, I'm not going to see big headlines on this, but Donald Trump is very adamant about we're not going to back you in a direct attack on Iran. Matter of fact, earlier this month, it's still April, earlier this month, it's April 30th. So I keep thinking it's May because payday's tonight. Earlier in April, they were talking about that Trump was in direct talks with Iran to try to come up with a deal. And the deals keep getting shot down by Netanyahu. And so now the AtlanticCouncil.org This is a really big Iran, Middle East based a news source. They're really big on covering news that has to do with Israel, Iran, the Middle East. So you can go to atlanticcouncil.org for this thing. But why Israel will resist any U.S.-Iran nuclear deal. The Israeli government and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu welcomed the election of U.S. President Donald Trump for a variety of reasons, but the most important of them was his stance on Iran. It seemed that Israel hoped that the president's election would open a window of opportunity for a military strike against Tehran's nuclear sites. The massive reinforcement of Washington's regional military presence and threats from senior officials that Tehran will face serious consequences if it does not completely dismantle its own nuclear program, indicated to Israel that the United States is serious about implementing military force and intends to attack Iran, or at least back up an Israeli attack. However, Trump's statement of intent to open nuclear negotiations with Iran in his meeting with Netanyahu last month caught the Israeli government by surprise. Moreover, after the rounds of talks between Tehran and Washington, it is clear that both parties are indeed interested in reaching an agreement. In the background, it seems that the U.S. has given up its basic demand for dismantling the enrichment sites in Tehran and is content with restrictions on its existing programs. The negotiations with Iran have displayed a significant divide between Washington and its ally Israel. One also sits at the center of Netanyahu's staunch opposition to the 2015 nuclear deal achieved under former President Barack Obama. From the Israeli perspective, that the nuclear program is indeed a problem, but the solution lies not only in attacking Tehran's nuclear sites, but in changing the regime. Again, because we're all about regime change. Nothing threatens Israel more at present than such an agreement, even one that would significantly reduce Tehran's ability to develop a nuclear bomb, because it would deal a severe blow. Is it every time that we really want to go to war, but we're not getting our way to go to war, we just start with weapons of mass destruction? Is that pretty much the go-to?
That seems to be the hot button item, at least in years past.
So we can't negotiate.
Tell me this doesn't sound like Ukraine and Russia. Like, Russia is not happy with what Ukraine's doing and saying, hey, don't do that. And they keep doing that. So then they're telling them they're going to attack. So Israel's telling Iran, hey, don't do that. And if you keep doing that, we're going to attack. It sounds awfully familiar. Very, 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 very familiar. Like almost like a script or a playbook, or like you could go like point by point. Like, this is what you do next to make sure that you get your warmongering money sent overseas so you can funnel it back to the United States. Like, it's crazy.
So strange. I've heard this song before.
And when I was talking to you, this is from the Jerusalem Post, and I was just bringing this up for you guys because I'm trying to give you their perspective, right? Trump blocked Israeli strike on Iran's nuclear sites, favoring diplomacy. That's coming from the New York Times, by the way. But this is coming from the Jerusalem Post. U.S. President Donald Trump blocked a planned Israeli strike on Iranian nuclear sites in favor of negotiating a deal with Iran to limit its nuclear program. The New York Times reported on Wednesday, citing administration officials and others with information on the matter. Trump's decision came after discussions on whether to provide support to the Jewish state or follow a diplomatic course, which I think we should follow a diplomatic course. Absolutely. With some in Washington favoring a more hawkish approach. In contrast, others were dubious that a strike could destroy the Islamic Republic's nuclear capabilities. However, an agreement was ultimately obtained, deciding against military action as Iran consented to talk. Why do you think it would be important for us not to allow or to back Israel in bombing Iran?
Because Iran could retaliate against us.
And who else could retaliate against us?
Anybody
on their behalf.
Anybody that backs Iran. Yeah. So you've got
right
all the Middle Eastern countries.
So now, would that say to say that that would be in the preventing of a global war?
It sounds something like that. Like,
right.
I mean,
that's exactly what it's
very, very similar to.
I mean, like, have some negotiations that greatly stall a nuclear program, but don't end a nuclear program, or just say fuck it and start a global war. I mean, like, and that's how the propaganda media puts it. They want to convince you that Trump is being soft on Iran's nuclear program, but what is the other? They don't tell you what the other option is.
Right. What's the alternative?
The consequence of a global war is the consequence here. And so that's a really tough decision to make. And I would urge, like, anybody from the left or the right, if you were in Donald Trump's shoes, that you said, like, we can stall their nuclear program by putting in these rules and regulations and these deals that greatly stall this thing out. Could stall it for 6 months, 2 years. We don't know, but it stalls things out and it gives us a point to see like how compliant they're going to be. Or option B, you go ahead and bomb them right now and get ahead of this. Let's play Minority Report. And before they even have a nuclear bomb, before they're even threatening to use nuclear, let's go ahead and blow them up now. And then the chance that China and Russia retaliate or help, or North Korea feeds more weapons over to Iran, the probability there is going to be about 75%. Which chance would you like to take, Mr. President?
Let's go ahead and stack them bodies up, Eric.
Right.
Oh, but you're anti-Jew. You're anti-Israel. How could you? How dare you? And Israel's making it pretty clear that they could go on with, and that's the way it should be, right? I believe that if Israel wants to go and attack Iran, fine, go ahead. We don't have to give you permission. You shouldn't really be our problem. We should not be your babysitter. But when the consequences come down, like, you better remember when we told you what those consequences were. Like, let us not forget that we fucking told you not to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And don't call us when it's done. If you decide to do that, don't call us for fucking help cleaning up your mess.
Well, that's going to happen. But I mean, I look at it like this. I look at it like this is my kids. Like, if my kids are skating without their helmets and I say, put your helmet on, and they ignore me and they fall down, they whack their head. Like, am I going to go to their rescue and their aid? Yeah. But like the whole time I'm going to be like, what did I fucking tell you? I fucking told you to wear a helmet. Like, as I'm patting the blood off their scalp and all this other shit. And I think that's what we should do with Israel. It's like, hey, motherfuckers, we told you not to do this. Hey, world, like, hey, mainstream media, make sure you put out there that this is why we told them not to fuck around. Because of this right here. But we're going to just we'll keep feeding the easy lines of like, you're anti-Jewish, you're anti blah blah blah, you know what I mean, you're pro giving Iran. Nobody's pro giving Iran nuclear things. What we're doing is stalling a global war, which we knew was imminent from about 2.5 years ago, which, by the way, started about the same time that we lost all cognitive decline from Joe Biden, and mysteriously these pens started being used to sign things and to put out statements like, we are pressuring, we are working towards, we're working very hard. I mean, even AOC put out, we're working very hard to come up with some kind of ceasefire. But then we have Israel saying, no, you never fucking.
It never happened. They never even talked to us. You know what you're talking about. It's like, if we're going to transition over to the pen, how many things in life do you go through your day to day that you physically have to take the pen and sign for it? Like, not only that, there are times that you have to take a couple forms of government ID, and a notary in public has to watch you and verify that you signed the document. And then they have a thing that they put a little stamp on it that says that they watched you sign the document, and they're licensed by the court to be able to do that. How many times do we do that? All the time. You sign for your driver's license, you sign for your checks, you sign for your delivery, you sign for your EP. I mean, we sign for everything. So the fact that we have a debate whether an auto pen for the president, and they talk about all of the history with the auto pen, you got to think the president is a very busy person. And if the president's office, the office of the president's writing, letters to Eric's kids to say, hey guys, you guys, doing really good. Keep up the good work. Work hard on your skateboarding and study and all that stuff. You think he's going to have the time to sit down and write and sign all of those? Generally, that's what those auto pens were intended for. And that's what they have been used for, things like that over the years. There was a debate in 2005 where George Bush was talking about whether he could have somebody else use the auto pen for him. And in this debate, there was a 25-page long, 25 to 30 page long decision to come out, an opinion that says, yeah, you can have someone, but they have to designate. So you can't just have Eric willy-nilly signing for me. I can't have Eric buying a car in my name. He can't be going to war in another country in my name. He can't be signing pardons in my name. I have to tell him what it is. Not only that, there is a cognitive, I understand that what he is doing is something that I authorized. I deputized Eric on my behalf to sign these. So we have, and I'm just going to go through them real quick. Just pull it up here. We have NPR's Trump tries to void Biden's autopens. And we've got another here, BBC, no evidence for the Trump claim. Fact checking about Trump's claims for the pardons. Autopen. None of these articles, not one of them, goes into and actually polls the autopen. Not one of them actually polls how many times the autopen was used. They don't poll it. They don't ask how many. They just say this is without Trump, without evidence. Eric, without evidence, said that the blackouts were probably from a cyber attack. That's a conspiracy theory, Eric. So once again, here, we didn't plan to go, like we planned over the stories that we were going to do, but we didn't plan on how these were going to be presented. But this is literally the news presenting it again. Hey, the president saying, hey, I think that there's something to question here in these autopens. Because who was in charge of the autopen? Did the president actually, because that's the question that we have to have, because that's the question that the legal scholars are at, that they have come up with. If Joe Biden designated somebody and said, hey, you do this for me, but then you have to go back and say, did you do this? And you have Speaker Johnson saying that in an interview that he had no idea who was signing stuff for him. So that's where the question of how many of these were legal, how many of these can stand up, that's where the question of this comes into, because if he didn't know that they were being signed, then it's not legal. That question of it is whether he knew they were or weren't. But you have the news running defense. Why?
Yeah, and one of the big defenses that's pretty evident and is that when you Google the autopen, the big news should be that Trump went after this week, a couple of days ago, this weekend, even. Well, maybe it was like Monday. I can't remember the day, but you could go back and look. Just go look back at Trump's tweets. But he's going after Act Blue. He was going after Adam Schiff. He was going after and putting what the investigation was about and how these guys manipulated the autopen and how that they were literally crashing our economy on purpose. And they were caught doing this by the media. And he's spelling it out there. Donald Trump is saying, hey, media, listen to me. Here's the evidence. This is what we're looking into. And here's the evidence. If you Google Biden's autopen right now, you can test it. New York Magazine 1 month ago. NBC News 1 month ago. BBC, where's Biden's pardon signed with an autopen 1 month ago. How autopen conspiracy theory about Biden went viral 1 month ago. Fact checking Trump's claim about the Biden's violent void 1 month ago. Trump tries to void Biden's blaming autopen 1 month ago. Presidents have used autopens for decades 1 month ago. Daily Caus. Trump goes after Act Blue, Biden shift, and the autopen 2 days ago. Right? Like we had big breaking news on this subject less than 2 fucking days ago, but you can't. Factcheck.org 1 month ago. Australian Broadcasting 1 month ago. That's on the first page of Google. Fox News 1 month ago. Newsweek 1 month ago. Like the new news is not that. The new news is what Donald Trump has been tweeting about the autopen and where the investigation lies right now. And some of the audacious things that Act Blue was funneling money through. These are a pretty big deal. This is pretty big media news that proves why autopen was on Donald Trump's radar to begin with. But the mainstream media on the first 2 pages of Google only give you articles from 1 month ago.
Yeah, they're throttling everything down because he's calling shit out the way he sees it and the way what he believes, and he's being able to come through and show it. And
2025 burning of books is manipulating Google and the search engine. That is it. It's giving you, it's when you Google why is Cinco de Mayo canceled and they make a 2025 article that tells you that Cinco de Mayo canceled because of ICE and Trump's immigration policies. And it makes you go 10 pages back on Google to find the article in 2024 where they say that they are canceling Cinco de Mayo going forward because of 27 gang shootings. You guys understand? Like that's I hope that you guys understand. And that's why it's important that you share this show out, because I think other people need to understand the importance of going out and finding other news perspectives and just stopping altogether, even remotely believing whether it fits your narrative or it doesn't. You have to stop regurgitating what mainstream media has to say. You just have to stop. We have one more one that I think it's very funny, and I'll just touch on this briefly, but we now have AOC as the front runner for the Democratic Party.
Please, and thank you.
Thank you.
I mean, Axios, House Democrats wait on AOC's big oversight decisions. Here, polls AOC is an early Democratic frontrunner for 2028. New York Post, AOC has made herself a legit White House contender. The Hill, the top 10 Democrats contender for 2028 presidential race. And guess who's on top? You know, Bernie Sanders and AOC in that article. Politico, big questions around AOC's insert as the probable future. So I never thought that those headlines would come across the table. It really is like this movie Idiocracy at this point.
If she enters the race, just if it all works out to where she enters the race, I can see the fucking headlines now. From bar house to White House. I guarantee you that's going to be the fucking headline.
That'll be the t-shirt. You go, just go and start making that t-shirt. She is going to run. She's going to run in 2028. I'm getting ahead of the curve
right now. I'm going to make them.
She's going to make major moves here pretty soon. And they've been grooming her. And I know they've been grooming her because she's become a much better speaker. She has been not saying his most outlandish and audacious stuff. But here's the question then. Why would the Democrat Party, and I'm asking this, if you're a Democrat, please let me know, or if you sympathize with the Democratic Party, I would personally like to know, why would you take somebody that you know sucked and you guys were all embarrassed by and then try to mold them into something great? Like, was there no Democrat candidate out there that's just great that you don't have to mold? Because it seems like if I own an NFL roster or Major League Baseball roster, right? I don't want to bring in somebody to be the captain of the team that I have to make a captain of the team. I would rather just recruit somebody that's, if I need a captain right now. Now I get it. Like, you try to bring somebody in and then you mold them and then they kind of graduate up, but you don't just bring them in and make them the captain. And that's what you're trying to do. You're taking AOC, who's been ridiculous, and you're going to try to make her the captain of the team right now. And then your goal is that you're going to just keep refining her. Like, why not just go find a refined Democratic candidate?
Not only that, what history does she have? Everything in her district in New York, like, I don't know what successes that they had. Like, her successes are that she won, that they didn't get voted out another term. Like, she spent more time in DC than she is dealing with the people in New York, and she's supposed to be representing the people in New York.
Well, I have an answer.
Oh. Ooh,
I do. I have an answer. I have an answer of why they would want to groom her instead of find somebody that's already up for the task, because you can control.
Because the last guy was old. The other one was an alcoholic,
and you can control him.
Believe her anymore, and you can control her.
So now you bring up AOC, and it's like, you know that, hey, bitch, we brought you here. You're thankful and grateful to us. We made you who you are. You're gonna sign this. You know that's why.
This is the show House of Cards being acted out right in front of our eyes.
I mean, the show House of Cards is so accurate that I can't watch it, because I'm like, it makes me mad that Hollywood went to the White House, documented all this shit and studied it for a couple of years and then wrote the fucking show off of it. And we're all like, this is really entertaining. Like, no, you should be like,
what the fuck?
We got a clean fucking house. I mean, it's like the Righteous Gemstones. You can watch the Righteous Gemstones and you know that is a very accurate portrayal of what Joel Osteen and all those other fucking losers are doing. You know it. You know that that's all the shit that's going on backstage, and you laugh at it. But then when you watch House of Cards, you're like, nah, that's not really how the White House works. Like, okay, so you're willing to believe it when it comes to Christianity, but you're not willing to believe it when it comes to the White House?
That is such a great analogy between the two. That is absolutely perfect, Eric.
Aggravating. Tell me about these sperm races.
Oh my God.
Sports. Our sports commentator here. We want to do some fun. By the way, you can check Jason out at One More and I'm Out of Here podcast. One More and I'm Out of Here podcast on YouTube and audio platforms. And they also do our sports show here on FAWKES News. And so this segment called The Great Sperm Race is brought to you by One More and I'm Out of Here podcast.
We covered it last night. I was so mad I couldn't find the news article the video that I played. But you got that up, or you want me to do it?
Here we go.
I'm just going to read this article real quick, but I saw this and I'm like, what the hell? World's first sperm race goes off with a bang in LA. 2 college students battled it out to the finish line in a sperm race on Friday, dubbed the world's first ever reproductive health competition. The live contest, the brainchild of a group of tech-savvy teens, took place in downtown LA. Well,
God, our next generation is so cooked.
Dude, no doubt. The combatants, I like the fact they call them combatants.
The combatants? Did they spell it C-U-M?
It's C-O-M, but they should have.
Damn it.
Damn it. Missed opportunity.
USC student Tristan Milker, 20. Milker, that's funny. And Asher Proger, 19, who attends arch rival University of California, Los Angeles, were described as 2 legends on the official sperm racing website. Spermatoza was collected from the pair for the microscopic talent competition dubbed the ultimate battle of fertility and fitness, racing their own sperm under the microscope. And they literally, they had video of this. Like microscopes, and they had like a whole little track that they had to go through. It was absolutely
amazing.
Amazing.
Fucking serious?
I swear to God. $1.4 million spectacle took place at the LA Center Studios, which normally host Hollywood productions such as Dune, Top Gun Maverick, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and Mad Men. Tickets to the event, $20 for students, $40 for general admission. VIP tickets, $999.99 to go watch this diatribe of shit.
Do you watch him jerk off?
No, they're luckily not.
That should be the first part of the race. Who comes first?
Who wins?
That should be part of it.
Well,
you know what I mean? Like, because what if like it takes me a while to jerk it, right? But my sperm can catch your sperm. Like even after
the underdog wins. I'm trying to see.
Then you could have multiple bets. Like you could bet like who nuts first, who sperm wins.
On the screen, there's the racetrack.
Oh my
God. The finish line for the racetrack.
Oh my God.
I saw this. I was like, this can't be real. Like, this cannot be real, but it's real.
Now,
they're walking out
ready
like
for
UFC
the race.
Fighters.
Did they really? Get the fuck out of here, dude.
So yesterday on One More, I had a news article. You can pull that down, Deadleg. But I had a news article or video where they had somebody on scene, outside the arena, and he hit every sexual innuendo that you could possibly do, like tastefully. Like he nailed it. And Dan, being in the media business, he goes, "That guy killed it right there."
That guy killed, dude.
I thought it was funny and
now to get ready for this, like how do you train for this? Do you just like no nut for as long as you can so that your nuts are like super swimmies, or like
I would think
is there a certain diet that they are we gonna see more of these sperm races?
Well, I hope so. I'm hoping
I've
so.
got my application here. I'm gonna send it in.
I figured it'd be a sock standing up like a hockey stick.
Oh my gosh, dude.
I know.
Listen,
took it off the rails. We made a little.
I've got 5 kids, and I've only had sex 5 times. So I think that I might be a good candidate for racer, dude. I got little Michael Phelps skis, bro. I got some fast ass swimmers.
You're like the fucking Jamaican bobsled team jerking off.
Folk around and find out says edging ? How do you know about edging, Folk? Greg Lamontagne says check TMZ. They interviewed the guys. It was hilarious. Well, we'll wait to see that on
Greg. I'm glad
Bars Open. The bar is open with Beth and Greg. I'll wait and catch that on you guys' show because that sounds like some cheeky news that you guys would put on there. Hilarious. I love it. Very good news segment, boys and girls.
How long before Pfizer gets a little pee on the back of one of the swimmers?
Get what? Like,
Pfizer,
right, yeah.
Pfizer gets a little flag on the back of him.
Oh my gosh. It's coming.
It's a sticky situation, but someone's got to do it.
Yeah, some hard dudes to finish that race. I've edged my yard, Transy. That's how I know. Well, good. Man, how do you edge your yard? That seems hard.
Yeah, sponsored by Trojan.
Blue Chew.
Like NASCAR.
Sponsored by Blue Chew, you nut. It's like this big blue sperm and taking off. It's got like fire. It looks like Sonic the Hedgehog. Jeez. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, what a great segment. I got 2 segments. One that I recorded yesterday. I don't know why it's not up yet. It'll be out shortly. And then today's one. So we appreciate you guys. And G.I. Joe says the best. Maybe you didn't know about, all the things we covered from the EU grid to Iran and Israel conflict, the autopen, the sperm races, the AOC being the front runner. But now you do know. And knowing is what? Half the battle.